All right, today we're going to be installing the MotoCult oil cooler kit onto the Hawk 250. This also fits on the TBR7 and some of the other very similar dirt bikes that use the CG250 air-cooled motor. All right, let's get started. First, we're going to start by taking off the valve cover. Using a 10mm wrench or a socket, we'll remove the 3 valve cover bolts. There's 2 on the right side. Once we get these off, we'll go to the left side. And remove that one. One of them over here. Remove the valve cover, and we can set the stock valve cover aside, as we'll be replacing it with the new one. You'll be removing the front rocker box bolts. This one's already been done, so this is what it looks like, and you replace it with the supplied button head Allen bolt that comes in the MotoCult kit. But it's very important to add some red Loctite to the bolt before you install it. Now we'll put the valve cover on, and we'll use the supplied valve cover gasket, making sure we get this fitted properly. Make sure it stays in place. Looks good. Go ahead and slide this into position. And replace the bolts. Go to the other side. Replace this one, and then we'll tighten all 3 of them up. Remember, this does not need to be cranked down on, it just needs to be snugged up. Go to the other side and get the other 2 snugged up. Now we're going to install the radiator. Now the radiator here comes with the MotoCult bracket already installed from the factory. So we'll just bolt this up. To do that, we have to remove these 3 engine mounting bolts. I'll use a 10mm socket and a 12mm open end. And we'll go ahead and take the left plate and we'll put that to the side, as we will not need that anymore. This bracket here replaces that left plate. So we'll go ahead and bolt this on. Get that out of the way here. We'll take the back plate. There we go. We'll go and get all 3 of these bolts finger tight. I'll go back and we'll tighten this up. Now, before we tighten it down, keep in mind that there's a little bit of wiggle room here, so you can adjust your radiator. So as you're tightening it down, make sure you're tightening it in the position that you want it to be in. All right, now we're going to install the hoses. Notice we have 2 different sizes. There's a long one and a short one. The long one will go on the left side. And we'll go ahead and install the hose clamps. See, I want that facing me. So I'll go ahead and install that like that. And then I'll do, I'll do the top one the same. We'll just simply slide this on. Slide on all the way to the shoulder. And then we'll take this one, the other end, and slide it on. Now we're only going to tighten up this end because soon we're going to take this off to bleed the oil cooling system. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But once we get everything in place and it looks good, we can tighten down. I'm gonna actually just snug this one up to get it out of the way. There we go. And then this one will actually tighten down. And then we'll use a 19mm wrench to tighten this down in place. Now be careful because these are just rubber gaskets, the seals here. So you don't want to tighten it down too much, but make sure it's nice and snug. Now we can go to the other side. Now we're going to add oil to the radiator here. We'll simply just remove the banjo. I like to do it from this side. So as we fill it up, the air bubbles, you can see there's a lean on the bike and the cooler, the radiator. So air bubbles will want to travel to the highest point and come out. We'll take this off. Mind you that there is 2 gaskets, 2 seals. So don't want to lose any of those. We're going to use a funnel, and then we're going to use the engine oil that we use in our engines, whatever your preference is. This whole cooling system takes about 100 milliliters extra of oil. No worries if you get some extra in there. We're going to go ahead, give that a tap, just see if any air bubbles come up. All right, we're going to go ahead and replace the banjo bolt here. Now we're going to take the shorter hose and we're going to do the same thing that we did on the left side, but we're going to do on the right side. Now we're going to figure out the orientation of our hose clamp. I want that facing out. So I'm going to go ahead and put that facing out. Tighten that down. Then we'll do the same thing with this hose clamp. I want that facing out, so towards me. I'll wiggle this on there and push it on until it goes all the way to the shoulder. I'm going to slide that on. Now we're going to get the orientation right of the hose here. So we want to make sure that the orientation of the hose here is out of the way of the fender and also giving clearance to the exhaust. Since we have that in place, I'll tighten down the banjo. Using a 14mm wrench. A socket might be better suited for this. It's nice and firm. Now we'll go to the lower banjo and we'll do the same thing. Let's tighten down the banjo nut using a 19mm wrench. Or a socket works for this as well. Now, even after you tighten this down, you still can move it a little bit to get it into place. So we'll get it nice and snug, and then we'll move this away from the header, and also making sure we have plenty of clearance here. Now we'll tighten down the hose clamp. Now we're going to bleed the system. You need something to catch the oil into. And remember, we left this one loose. That way we can catch the oil like that. So what we'll do is we'll get the bike started. Reconnect it. Make sure we tighten down the hose clamp. And then we tighten our banjo down after we get it located where we want it. I switch to a 14 socket. Now we'll start the bike up. We will let it warm up. We'll feel both hoses to make sure that they're getting equal temperature and there's no air bubbles in there.